PJ, I thought we would do something different this time.
Uh-oh. What are we doing this time?
Go completely shooting off the hip, off the cuff, extemporaneous, I think is the word I'm looking for. I'm going to just simply present a unplanned forward podcast and see how you respond.
Oh my gosh.
This is a psychological exercise.
Is it a test?
No.
Can we talk about RVs? Because that's really the only thing I know.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We'll
all
throw
right.
a few of those in there.
I'm game. So this is the I Don't Know What's Next podcast.
This is up to 20 questions with PJ.
Okay. Well, I am ready.
Welcome to the RV Small Talk podcast, where we talk about lightweight trailers, truck campers, and the people, places, and adventures that go right along with them. We are your hosts from Princess Craft RV. I am Clint.
I am PJ.
We don't have Lindsay today.
We don't have anyone else joining us. You know, guys, it is the Friday before Memorial Day, and I don't know, people wanted to go on vacation, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it's good and healthy, and so we should let them. However, we got a schedule to keep.
I guess so, and I'm drinking the leftover coffee, and you're drinking a glass of water.
Yeah.
We got to get with the program here, Clint.
Okay.
All right. So, wow. So we're just gonna
we're gonna
talk.
shoot the breeze.
Shoot the breeze.
But it might get heavy. So if it gets heavy, you know, just lean into it, but don't take too long.
Do we need a barometer? We're shooting the breeze, but it's getting heavy.
Under pressure. So, all right. So I guess out the gate, you have a unique position, a unique vantage point on the RV industry, because you talk with a whole lot of people, from end user customers to other dealerships to state organizations to national organizations, all the way up to manufacturers and whatnot. And what is your feeling right now? What are people thinking right now?
What are you trying to ask?
I'm trying to ask what is the pulse right now in the RV market? Is it positive? Is it scared? Is it cautious? Is it hopeful? What words would you describe?
Well, right now in the RV world, dealership wise, I think it is really interesting, because some weeks we get really busy, other weeks it slows down. So the past 2 weeks have been extremely slow.
Yeah.
And it has been really slow across the U.S. You know, I talked to dealers across the country, and it just all of a sudden slowed down for a bit. Now, sometimes that can happen because there's world events going on. Maybe political things can affect it.
Sure.
Sometimes stock market can affect it.
Right.
Anything that gets people's attention.
Yeah.
It used to be, I will tell you, 10 years ago, it used to be there were still waves, but the waves were like a few months. And now the waves go in 2-week segments.
Really quick.
Really quick. We can be really busy and then really slow and then really busy again.
Right.
It is very different than it used to be. And I think that has a whole lot to do with social media.
I think so.
Advertising and how much time we spend on our phones.
So I have a kind of a thought that I always have running in the background, that anything having to do with money, whether it be purchasing or saving or what, it's all emotional.
Yeah, well, I mean, money is emotional, right?
Yeah, and I think that you're right with the way that our lives have changed from a digital standpoint. It has drastically changed how fast we go on that cyclical, whatever trip it is that we're on.
Yes.
The smallest things, may, put us on a high or a low, and we either binge or purge or what have you, from spending and saving standpoint.
I think that's exactly right. And it is more emotional now, because I think, let's say you're shopping for an RV, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we all know, if you even think about buying a red dress, that all of a sudden your phone is serving up red dresses for like 3 months.
I have like 3 or 4 in my cart right now.
Red dresses. Yeah. But you get what I mean. You search for something once and it is all over you. So if you decided maybe you were interested in what kind of camper your half-ton truck could tow.
Yeah.
You might have pulled something up, but then you are going to be flooded with information
Right.
from all kinds of trailer opportunities.
Right.
And it may or may not be what you're looking for, but the algorithms are going to be searching for you
Right.
and feeding you things.
And that it's going to eat on your psyche.
Yes. And then it becomes emotional.
Right.
So that is really how this works. And what kind of information you get is really gonna sway you. It
Right.
does. It's human nature. So absolutely, the cycles are faster.
Yeah.
Everything is emotional, and you happen to look at the news about something political that happened. All of a sudden, if you stay on that page too long, then you get flooded with that stuff too.
Oh my gosh.
So what you thought you wanted to do yesterday may not be what you thought you were going to do tomorrow.
Right. So how do you think, because you've also been on the phone with quite a few manufacturers, how are they navigating a whole new world of like we said, the sine waves is just moving faster.
Yes.
And
yes.
so this is you've been in the industry long enough to go, this is a new thing. Mm-hmm. Traditionally, manufacturers aren't fast at adapting to new things like the way the public is buying right now. Are they starting to figure it out? And what do you think you would say to manufacturers on it's a whole new world, here's how you deal with it, or what suggestions would you have?
Well, as far as manufacturers go, I think they are still trying to regulate how much to build.
Right.
And then we're trying to regulate as dealers, what are people buying? There is still, even, one of the questions we get all the time is this the right time to buy? Well, we've been saying for a year, this is a great time to buy because so many dealerships across the country have a product that needs to turn that maybe is a year old.
Right. Deals are out there.
Yeah, deals are out there right now still because we still haven't been able to get everything regulated. So that is what manufacturers are struggling with, not necessarily, well, maybe that's not true. They're struggling with what to build, but moreover, how much?
Yeah.
How much do I build? How much can I sell? If you think about the supply chain problem, it has to do with how many parts do they buy and stock at one time? And so how do they keep their labor force going? What so many manufacturers have done, two things that have been really prominent this year. One is they have cut down how many days they're open.
Yes.
So many manufacturers are now maybe only open 3 days a week. Their plant works Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or maybe 4 days. There are some manufacturers that are still working 5 days. Maybe they cut down on their staff. So they've regulated in different ways of trying to manage how much they're building based on what people are buying.
Sure.
Most people don't realize that a whole lot of manufacturing plants have closed over the past year and a half because they weren't needed. They were ramped up during COVID when so many RVs were going out. Now there's less. So I think we're going to see some of the brands that are really staying competitive and some of these brands that they're just not able to build enough to stay alive.
To warrant continuing.
We've seen a little of that. I think over the next year, we will see more of that.
Okay. So my next question, and forgive me for having a little bit of a cynical tone on it, but I see on the forums and all that where there are people kind of lambasting manufacturers and dealerships and going, this is your comeuppance. This is what the manufacturers and dealerships deserve, and they are actually rooting on a bloodbath. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's brutal.
It is, but it's brutal in the comments section.
Yeah, well, people just love to. They love to forecast and they love to bash, right?
It is a.
Is that fair?
Yeah, it's a pastime out there to bash, especially in the digital age.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're getting what we deserve. I think it's an adjustment in the market.
Okay.
It's an adjustment in the market and it takes time.
So does that kind of go back to the emotional thing? If you're going to live life emotionally, you're going to veer towards the cynical or the overly positive or negative bias take on things. Whereas if you're able to remove your emotionals, you can see it better for what it is.
Maybe
There's markets, there's sine waves, there's values, and just numbers.
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on exactly what you're talking about as far as who's bashing who. If customers are bashing dealerships for not taking good care of them, well, dealers could do a little better, but a lot of dealerships have had to slim down on the people, or, it's been tough getting techs to take care of everybody right now because there's a lot more service than they used to be. Or maybe they bought a new one and it had problems. Well, probably they bought a unit that had a great deal on it because it was over a year old. And, anything that sits around on a lot for over a year might have some issues.
Sure.
It's kind of just this big snowball effect.
Right.
So if we're talking about customers being unhappy, they're bashing dealerships for not taking good care of them.
Then dealerships should listen. But
dealership should listen, but also let's work through this.
Right.
One of the things we found here is that we have deals here as well because we have older units. We have a lot of trade-ins. Used are really doing well right now. Mm-hmm. But one of the things we found is that customers are not very patient or accepting of used units having any flaws.
Which is strange.
Yeah, which is strange, but it's a little different than it used to be.
Right.
Or if you have an aged unit and it's new, you want it to be perfect, even if the dealer is selling it below cost.
Right.
So to fix that, it is all about the expectation of the customer and how clear the dealership is.
And quality communication on both sides really goes a long way.
It does. So if you're looking at buying one of these older units or a used unit, even if it's only a year old, the best thing that a customer can do is ask all the questions and set the expectation. Mm-hmm. And the best thing that the dealership can do is answer all the questions before they're asked.
Right.
So there is nothing unclear.
Right.
It may be a scratch on the refrigerator. Are you going to fix it? Or is this an as-is unit and it does have some cosmetic flaws, but we'll make sure all the appliances are working.
Right.
We say those words a lot here because we would like for people to understand why they're getting such a screaming deal.
Sure.
So, you try to work through that. It doesn't always work, but I think that is the way the emotional buying comes into it. And we've seen a lot more of that lately.
Yeah.
As far as emotional selling, sometimes dealerships, for lack of a better word, they get a little desperate in turning things. They don't go through the details, and maybe they overpromise, and maybe they simply just don't do as good a job as they could.
Sure.
That happens. So, I don't know. Maybe customers have a reason to be a little upset about their purchase, but I don't know. It's not always handled well.
Right.
They feel very betrayed.
And this is obviously, if it's an RV, it's an emotional purchase because it's a luxury item and it's for, it generally is not for, I say generally, not for living in. It's generally not for, full timing purposes. It's your vacation. It's your downtime. It's your dream, Yes.
And you want that to be flawless.
Right.
Think about getting on an airplane. If the airplane's delayed, are you irritated?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, of course. Every time. Well, maybe it was completely out of the airline's ability to fix that. Maybe there was a storm and they had to go around it. Mm-hmm. Maybe there was a double check that had to be done earlier in the flight path.
Sure.
To be sure it was safe because a light came on.
Yeah.
Gosh, of all the airline things we've heard about, I want them to be late and double check it coming in.
Well, on that note, do you still want to sit by the exit door?
I I always want to sit by the exit door. I just to be clear, I am always wanting to sit there. Now, I always feel a little guilty when they say, "Are you capable of opening the door in case of an emergency?"
And you
I'm
say
like,
yes.
"Okay, I'm 5 foot tall. I weigh 115 pounds. I don't know. Am I? Can I?" And I always make sure someone sitting right next to me is stronger than I am.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I want to be the first one off a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
I just once I want to ride that slide.
You just want to be the first one to have fun.
I mean, just jump and, maybe I don't want to necessarily have a water landing, but to ride the slide into a pool would be kind of fun.
It would be kind of fun. Plus, you're 6'4". You always want the leg room. So
Heck
the
yeah.
exit door is just a bonus.
You know it.
But yeah, I think I related to that a lot because there may be things in that delay of a plane that needed to be done.
Yeah.
That were nobody screwed up. The plane's just late. Now, I get irritated as well, but I get double irritated when, number one, they don't tell me anything.
Yes.
And there's just this endless sea of no word of if
Right.
I'm going to leave. But what really gets me, what sends me reeling, is when I arrive at my connection, no one's there to help me. No one will help me get on the next plane, which leaves in an hour. They rebook me until tomorrow.
How often does that happen to you, PJ?
Well, unfortunately, it's happened several times this year.
Wow.
Or they rebook me at a flight that's like an 8-hour wait when I
Right.
can look and see 3 more are leaving. But they say, "Oh, those are full." Then why the hell can't I get on a waiting list?
Yeah.
Right? So that is where, dealerships, we make mistakes, but sometimes, things are unavoidable. We can't get parts in, or, something happens and we cannot do a perfect job.
Sure.
That is where I work really hard for our people to relay the truth.
Right.
And it may not be what somebody wants to hear, but as long as we're in communication with them and we're telling them what happens, maybe we have to tell somebody, "Hey, I cannot get this manufacturer to approve this warranty. Here is all the avenues I can think of how to move forward."
Sure.
It's unavoidable. It is like a weather problem on a plane, but it's where we are. And if you just tell them, you can at least be upset together.
Right.
And explore all the other avenues. If someone was waiting for me outside that plane, or if they said, "Just go up to this counter and see if they can rebook you." So for all of you who've had those airplane experiences, here's what I've learned after the third time it happened to me this year. I have learned that you go up to the customer service counter because nobody at a gate can help you. No one at a gate can
Okay.
help you. They don't have any authority. So you go up to the customer service window, you wait in line, and when you get up there, you say, "I want to be on the wait list for the next available flight." And they can do that. But to do that,
That's your baggage counter? That front end counter? Which customer
no,
service?
there is a customer service for everybody. That's a whole separate counter.
I've
It
never
is
seen
not
this
at a
counter.
gate.
I've
Oh, well,
only
you
seen the
have to look
gate and
for
the
it.
baggage claim or the
Well,
baggage.
You should
intake.
fly with me. I happen to be there a lot.
I have flown with you. I just haven't. Maybe I shouldn't again this year.
So
Maybe
I deal.
should
Yeah, I know.
avoid traveling with you this year.
I have terrible luck traveling on a plane. So then you go to the customer service place and you tell them, "I want to be waitlisted." And probably because it goes on an algorithm. And so when you get rebooked, it's done by a computer and it takes the next opening. But you can get on the wait list for the next available flight. Now, that unbooks you from that flight 8 hours down the road. But I have never not made the wait list on the next flights.
Okay.
You just have to manually do that at the customer service counter. So who knew? Who knew? I think that's really crappy customer service. So as a dealership,
Airlines are known for really great. No,
No.
they're known for exactly
No.
what you're describing.
dealerships are also known for that.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things that I think as a whole we could do better.
Okay.
We just don't seem to have a customer problem solving counter.
Okay.
We have people who are entrusted with that job, but sometimes they get busy. Sometimes it's really tough to give those people enough resources to solve the problems, because it could be a manufacturer problem. It could be a waiting on parts problem. It could be, I mean, we have some manufacturers that we can't even get an answer back on what's a part number so we can order this. It can take a week.
Yeah.
And the customer's saying, well, come on. And we're like, I don't even know what to help you with. I need a part number. So yeah, I don't know. That's what I see. That's what I get frustrated with at dealerships that I deal with. And that's what people get frustrated with at our dealership.
Okay.
We need to, as an industry, have the resources to be more transparent and more helpful.
Right.
And more helpful. So I don't know. We fall short sometimes.
So obviously it's not just the sales and delivery side of getting a new to you trailer or something like that. There's always the service side, and there's always people in queue or waiting or what have you. And we've talked about this a little bit before. And so this is going to take a little bit of setup. There's always,
I'll get comfortable.
Yeah, get comfortable. There's forever in this industry been a lack of enough trained technicians. There's that. And then there were projections a couple years ago that with all the new people coming into the RV industry, that there was going to be just a flood of people with new trailers who in the next 2, 3, 4 years is where we're at right now, are going to need service and maintenance and all that. So has that effectively played out exactly as we expected?
Oh, I think it is certainly rolling in that direction.
Right.
And so what I've seen happen over the last few years is that there have been shops spring up that are strictly RV shops.
RV service shops.
Service shops.
Okay.
They're not dealerships. They're just RV repair shops. And many of them have mobile techs as well.
Right.
So they do both. They're a shop. They have some mobile techs. The mobile tech business has really flourished. Dealerships, I think, a lot of times don't offer a lot of benefits, and they don't pay enough. So people think on their own they can do better, and they can for a while, but then they get into the business side of it. You have to have a website. You have to have something to manage appointments. You have to be able to manage parts. And then they get into all of the moving, the workings of it.
And if you don't have business savvy, you might not make it down the road very far. If you have business savvy, you might be able to figure it out and do great.
That's right. So there's a lot of moving parts there as well. But there is easy money there. As in most businesses, it's a scalable problem, because if it's just you or you and one other person helping you, then it's very manageable and you can kind of keep your arms around all of it. When you start getting bigger than that and you have to hire staff to manage it, then it takes another level of expertise. And that is where some of the service shops have struggled, and some have done very well. So I have seen more service shops than there used to be 5 years ago. And I've also seen more single man mobile techs.
Right.
And that's really good for the consumer.
Sure.
You know, it takes business away from us, but it's really good for the consumer. And I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, I think my take on that is, if it takes business from us, that's one thing, and it's almost neither here nor there, because if more people have a positive overall over the years experience with RVing, then they're going to continue doing it.
That's right.
And they are more likely to share their passion for RVing with others.
Yeah.
It's the long game.
It is. And you know, as a dealership, we have scaled up our service department to anticipate the business as much as we possibly can. We have a larger service department now than we've ever had.
Yes.
We have 10 technicians. 10 technicians.
That's wild.
And, you know, we're not a massive dealership. We don't have like a huge row of bays. We are not Camping World.
Right.
We have 10 technicians, very skilled group as a whole, and really impressed with what we've been able to do and how much we've been able to put out, how much we can help our customers. Right now, we still have a 2-month wait for an appointment. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
2 months.
Yeah.
Now, car dealerships can do that. And sometimes people forget that car dealerships do that. I mean, sometimes you can get in a few weeks,
Right.
but sometimes it takes time.
And it also sometimes for the car dealer depends on how specialized your vehicle is. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's a very common vehicle, it probably
Yes.
isn't what you're used to.
Yes.
But almost every RV is somewhat a specialized thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's some piddly things, reseal.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we're working on next is that, with a car dealership, it really matters whether you need your oil changed or you need your 5,000-mile checkup.
Right.
Or whether you have a serious engine issue and they
Sure.
need to diagnose it. Those are two different kinds of appointments.
Two different departments, really. You have the fast lane.
Yes.
And then you have you really done it now lane.
Yes. And I've been in both of those.
Right.
And the fast lane is really nice. You make your appointment for next week or the week after.
Mm-hmm.
You drop it off. You pick it up 3 or 4 hours from then. It's done. All good. Pretty easy.
Right.
And the other one is a problem that's hard to diagnose. My fairly new car with 3,000 miles on it was at the dealership for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2.5 months.
And to me, it's a very common brand of car.
Yeah. The best part is, though, I have to say, they gave me a loaner.
Yeah.
And when that loaner had time up on it, which was, 2 months, they called me and said, we need your loaner back, but we got another one for you. Stop by.
Right.
They said, get yourself a cup of coffee and here's your paperwork and we'll see you later. I mean, they were great. They just couldn't fix my car.
Right.
So that is the auto industry has really stepped up a bit in that they have online appointments that you can get into, and they're very automated.
Right.
And we could learn from that.
Sure.
Now, unfortunately, a lot of things here we can't fix in an afternoon. So
Right.
they have to stay here. At any given time, we have 60 or 80 units just hanging out on our parking lot, waiting to be fixed.
Right. But I also kind of keep in mind that Toyota dealerships, those technicians are Toyota certified technicians, and they pretty much see only Toyotas
Yeah, that's true.
all day long. And they most likely see the more recent releases of those type of vehicles. Once they
Right,
get a bit older,
right.
they're going to the private repair shops and all that.
And all of their parts are cataloged.
Yeah.
All they need is a computer to figure out what part they need.
Right.
And it's all right there.
And Toyota has a Toyota parts warehouse.
Yes.
It's not coming from,
It's crazy. That has always been a struggle for me, is how scattered the parts are in this business. We have to go to each manufacturer to find out what part on a lot of things. Now, sometimes it's standard. If it's a Suburban 6-gallon gas electric water heater, we can find that part. But if it's under warranty, we need to contact that manufacturer and go through that channel to get it. So there's all these dances. Most people don't realize that RVDA, who is our National Dealer Association, has been working on repair event cycle time. We call it RECT, RECT, for our repair event cycle time. And that has become a standard part of the industry. Now, a lot of it can be tracked. So we can see where the holdup is and work on that as an industry. We are not there yet, but we're working on it, because how do you standardize all of these parts and all of these specialty items?
Right.
It's really a challenge. Princess Craft, who is not a Camping World style dealership, we figured out the other day, we have 32 manufacturers we work with. Right.
And we estimate how many individual units.
Different models?
Yes. 293 is what I seem to recall.
I think so. So everyone has a different wiring diagram that we can't usually find, get, or see.
Right.
Everyone has a different plumbing situation. So you get to kind of know the manufacturers. We do get a handle on some of it, but a lot of things we just have to wait on information.
Right.
So if you're bringing your I don't know, you're bringing your wildwood in for me to work on. It's 5 years old. The manufacturer may not even know exactly how they wired it.
Right.
We can't just pull up a diagram and find out where the short is in your air conditioner.
Right.
So we don't know. We have to guess. We have to work with it. It takes time. That's always the challenge in this industry. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna switch gears significantly. Okay.
Good. Something more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hypothetical.
Okay.
With a slight bit of setup. Take a sip of coffee.
I will do that.
Okay. Hypothetical. It's time for PJ to get her next trailer. And there have been some changes and new components or accessories or appliances, you name it, on the market that we've seen recently. And what are your I want that in my trailer items that would not have been on your list a year or two ago? Like if you're saying, I want my new trailer that I'm picking up tomorrow to have these things that weren't on my radar, but they are now. What are those things?
You know, there's a couple of things that just jump out. I would want the low profile, efficient Truma air conditioner.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Aventi, it's quieter. It's much more efficient. It has a built-in soft start, which means that if you're running off a generator or if you're running off an off-grid system, it is going to be able to start up without pulling the amps and overloading your system. So I would start there. That is one of the big complaints we get from people is the air conditioners being too loud. The next thing that comes to mind is when you're talking about an off-grid system, lithium batteries are great, but if I had another trailer, I would want 400 amp hours of batteries, and I would want a 2,000 to 3,000 watt inverter, and I would want 400 watts of solar, because that would allow me to run an Aventi air conditioner for 6, 7, 8 hours at night, which would allow me to camp anywhere, anytime. Okay. That's what I would do. And that system has gotten so much more sophisticated. I have talked to a lot that we get so many of these off-grid systems coming through here. We get an awful lot of manufacturers of lithium batteries. We have different manufacturers for solar panels. I would probably look for somebody who does the whole system all in one manufacturer.
Sure.
Because that gives me a lot more capability for troubleshooting down the road.
Absolutely. The support is kind of baked in.
That's right. And it's gotten a lot cheaper than it used to be.
Yeah.
2 years ago, that was a much more expensive system.
Right.
I think that's only going to continue to evolve, get cheaper, get more efficient, and get more compact. You know, we know there's new things coming out on the market that are going to be smaller, easier, and that is going to be a standard piece of a trailer in the future. But it may take 5 years or more. But in the meantime, those systems just continue to evolve and become part of the fabric of RVing. So I would look for that.
Okay.
I would also look for a on-demand water system, a tankless water system.
That's one I was going to bring up.
Yeah. I would want a Truma Combi Plus.
Comfort Plus?
Comfort Plus, thank you. And because that has a whole lot more features in it.
Right.
So sometimes you can get the Truma Combi. When you step up to the higher end of the system, that would be, now this is just my wish list.
Sure, absolutely. That's the premise. No problem.
Yes. And if I couldn't get that, because it has the anti-freeze type system in it, it has a few more features that I really like.
Sure.
Just a basic Truma, it's good. But that would be my wish list. And I would also look for New Camp is the only company I know that uses this. There may be one more, but they have the Aldi system in it,
Right.
which is going to be the water heater radiant heat system,
Right.
which I truly love.
Does Truma
I
not have
love
something
that.
along those lines, which is both water heater and radiant heat? Because Truma does own Aldi, or at least in the U.S., it seems like they're connected.
They do have some that are together.
Okay.
And you know, guys, I can't tell you exactly which is which and how to get there. But I will tell you, radiant heat is the bee's knees.
Sure.
I just love it. Unfortunately, it is not widespread yet. Truma has really taken over the U.S. market.
Right.
So, you know, I also have to say, yeah, even in a big trailer, I'm a huge fan of a cassette toilet.
Okay.
I know that's weird. I can hear the
It's
groans
weird
on the other end
in
right
the
now.
North American market. It is
Oh, man.
standard across pretty much all of Europe.
It
and
is so
elsewhere.
easy.
And that's
It
just
is
the deal.
so easy.
It's one of those things where it's funny how we develop things so differently. It's like the American V8 became the engine of North America.
Right.
Whereas on the other side of the pond, you know, you had all these turbo diesels. You know,
The world is different. The fuel
Yeah.
is different. The prices are different.
Right.
All of that. And the usage is different. You know, it's kind of like electric cars being more prevalent. The problem is charging stations. Well, you know, Tesla figured it out, but pretty much nobody else did. And now they're trying to standardize.
Yeah.
So that has really been the holdup there. So the U.S. market is kind of working through that. Now, I have to say, I might have a different point of view on the cassette toilet if I was camping with my kids,
right.
because you get a family out there. It's different.
It's going to fill fast.
But yeah, and you just need more. You can't be dumping it twice a day. That's just silly.
Right.
You need a big tank. You need all of that.
But oftentimes it's just you and Richard.
But the camping that I do,
Yeah.
if you're asking me what I would like, yeah, absolutely. It's not perfect for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of outside kitchens.
Right.
Is that weird? I'm just not.
No, it's not. No, I think that's pretty typical in the RVing crowd to not be a huge fan of outside kitchens. I think if you're more in if you lean closer to camping and like off-roading or overlanding, then that would be weird.
Well, some people love the outside kitchen because it's there, it's compact, it's connected to the trailer. You don't have to worry about packing extra stuff, you know, all that. But I guess I'm not a big fan of it because I maybe don't want to be right next to the tire cooking. Maybe I want to be over there under the trees on the picnic table. Or maybe I want to take it back to the other side. Or I don't know. I just don't want to be stuck standing next to the trailer while everybody else is under the 10 by 10 that we set up on the other side of the campsite.
Yeah.
And it just feels restrictive to me.
Fair.
I would rather carry a smaller grill, camp stove, whatever I like to cook on, and have a small gas tank that I can just connect and fly wherever I want to go.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. So a couple items that you didn't mention that are, you know, either one of my favorite things currently or that I'm keen to try. One is that DC to DC charger I keep on bringing up.
Oh, well, I guess that's a given with
if you're going to have that battery bank you were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Can you explain what that is? Because I know there's a lot of people who don't know what a DC to DC charger is.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that in the next few years, because of all the off-grid talk and gear that's becoming much more standard, that's going to become part of it. But people need to understand it. Dealerships don't even understand it yet.
So I'm not going to do a fantastic job, but think of if you have any battery on an RV, especially when you get up into large capacity, you know, several batteries or one of the really big batteries, you're using more electric stuff. You have a 12 volt compressor refrigerator that's efficient, but it is running the whole time. You may have the Aventi air conditioner. All this stuff you're planning to pretty much run through a massive battery bank. However, charging becomes more and more of an issue, just like with Tesla or Rivian or anything. Like charging becomes the focal point. Well, you can't charge. You can't charge fast enough. A DC to DC charger is a piece of equipment that greatly increases your tow vehicle's ability to charge your battery quickly.
So basically, if you've got a 100 amp hour battery, maybe 200 amp hour batteries that are a standard wet cell, they're only going to use about half of that capacity. So you've got to charge that battery halfway driving down the road for the 6 to 8 hours that you're driving, heading for your trip.
And you do have equipment running on
and that 7-way plug into your vehicle is going to trickle charge that battery.
Right.
And for standard use, if you're plugging in when you get there, that works great.
Yeah, but that
because
trickle,
you're not relying on the battery.
Exactly, but the trickle hasn't proven to me to be anything more than a trickle.
Yes. So if you're boondocking or you're not plugging in somewhere, which is what boondocking means, so you're off the grid, right? Off the electrical grid. Most people don't really put all that together. Not most people. Occasionally people don't put all that together and don't know where it came from. But if you're not connected to the electrical grid that's out there, then you're relying on that battery bank.
Right.
So if you're using all of that battery power, you need to recharge it quickly.
Yeah.
And you need to recharge it quickly, not only from the solar panels, but from the vehicle when you're driving.
And it gives you so much more confidence. And when I did the trip a year or so ago to Arkansas, it was 2 years ago, I went, we've talked about this before. It was a place that did not allow generators. And there was too much tree cover for solar. And there was no place to plug in my camper as well.
So when you arrived, you needed fully charged bank of batteries.
And my, my truck before a DC to DC charger would not have managed that. It did beautifully. It would charge that battery up fast. And if they didn't allow generators, they still allowed tow vehicles.
So you could turn your vehicle on and let it run for 20 minutes?
And it charged every bit as fast as being plugged into shore power.
Wow.
And my truck is, even though I have a really nice inverter generator, I do, and I love having it. It works great. My truck is quieter. My truck runs
that's crazy
quieter than a generator, even an inverter one. So it was kind of a win-win. And that's when I realized I love this thing.
Love is a strong word.
It is a strong word. So the other thing that is my interest right now, and I don't have it, but I kind of, maybe this is how I ask you, can we put one of these on your trailer and have you test it? Because between your tow vehicle being a Ram with a tow setting and self-leveling, and your weight distribution hitch, and a trailer that is a beautiful trailer but has a pretty pronounced front on it.
Okay.
You have not exactly always had fun towing experiences. I would like to try an asymmetric sway control on your trailer. There's a product out there by Tucson, and we've seen it rebranded on another manufacturer. And in doing research, I got very interested in how it works. Your truck will level. You don't need a weight distribution hitch to level your truck because it has an airbag system that self-levels. That'd be taken care of. But in learning how an asymmetric sway control system works by pulsing the brakes separately to mitigate sway, and it does it so fast. It sounds brilliant, and all the reports from users is like it's a dream. And I think if we put this on your trailer to test it, I'm pretty confident in it, having read and researched. And your trailer and your scenario with your particular tow truck sounds like the perfect match to try it on.
And this is
a Tucson sway control, electronic sway control.
So it isn't the bars on the front of the trailer.
It's not a mechanical sway control at all.
I know the system you're talking about, and I have seen that and researched it. I've never seen it I mean, I've never seen it as an add-on anywhere. So,
but it is, and that's just the thing. It's kind of like the DC to DC charger wasn't really in a conversation 3 years ago.
well, I wonder how hard it is to add.
It isn't. It isn't. I've had comments on our YouTube video on it, and
Well,
they're
let's
like,
try it.
"I added it myself. I love it. I can only tell that it's working by I have no more sway, and the little light it flashes saying it's working."
Well, I think that is everybody's dream, is to just see the little light flashing and nothing swaying.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't that be a dream?
Now,
Nothing to hook up, nothing to unhook, nothing to lift or
less
raise.
weight on the tongue,
or-
even though it's a weight distribution hitch and all that. But granted, there are vehicles that don't have the self-leveling capacity your Ram pickup does. And you probably do need the weight distribution hitch.
I bet they don't have
if it's
coil
not-
springs either.
Right. Right, exactly. However, since you do have that set up, you might be able to install this thing and forego the weight distribution hitch.
Well, I
altogether.
love the way you said you, because I assume that's metaphorically, as in we are going to take our medicine. No, I am not going to install anything.
No, you're going to benefit. I just want to do it to your trailer.
Not that I couldn't figure it out and get it done. I
Yeah.
mean, I've crawled under trailers before. I could do things.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
anymore, but somebody could.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would like to see this
I will be
device
the
on
guinea
your
pig.
trailer so that we can have a real world test and report on it.
Let's try it.
Excellent.
Let's try it. I have put in my husband put in a built-in water filter
Yes.
that I have yet to get it to work properly.
In what way? Like no water comes through it at all?
I don't know.
The water comes out more dirty.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We've had a few freezes since we put it in, but we went in, it worked, and then it didn't work. Then last time I took it out, it didn't work. I don't know why it's not working, but I thought it was an easy thing.
Yeah.
And here we are. So, I'll figure it out.
Sure.
Someone will figure it out. I probably won't. Because you know what? I have people.
You do have people.
I have people.
You have friends.
And they're going to figure it out faster than me. So I will let someone figure it out
Sure.
faster than me. But I don't know. Is there anything else you can think of that you're like, wow, this is new and different, and I wish we had it on our trailers? Because we have very different trailers.
We have such different trailers. You named the big ones that matter to me before I led into basically the only thing I added to it was the asymmetric brake controller. I'm interested. I think it's going to work great. I just want to put it on something that would make sense.
So do I get to ask you a question?
Sure.
All right.
That was it.
I'm done. You used your one wish. You can't wish for more wishes. So what do you think I mean, I see things differently. I see the business side of it.
Yeah.
What do you think this industry is going to look like in 5 years? Do you think the off-road group is going to continue to grow and stay connected to the RV business? Are we going to make lighter trailers? Are we going to make fancier trailers? What's going to change? What do you see?
Man, I am so bad at making predictions that I'm always wary to do so. But maybe if I kind of flesh it out a little bit, I think that the off-road market is going to continue to spin out some of the most interesting and creative and engineering marvelous things. However, I think that the numbers are going to flatten out a little bit, and it's going to be a robust community, maybe a little bit insular, but a very robust community that supports itself. It's kind of its own thing. And I think they already kind of behave that way. I don't know that I'm going to see that I project fast growth in overlanding, like the people who go to Overland West and whatnot. I do think that the notion of capable trailers, more standard trailers that have some hints at overlanding, I think that trend's going to continue. Maybe not in the short term. We're starting to see this weird thing where the whole term decontenting. And so you're seeing the trailer that had the really cool suspension going back to a standard
Or a
suspension.
spring axle, yeah.
Right. So
And that was one of the things that in the very beginning when you talked about, I said, yeah, there's two things that I've seen in the manufacturers.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that I think we got waylaid and I didn't get to. The decontenting.
Yeah.
So they're kind of going two different directions. We have this off-road, off-grid group that's getting, like you said, more insular, more all kind of to themselves with these mostly expensive rigs,
And
very well-built, cool things.
Yeah, let's face it, they're the cool kids.
Yeah, they are. And they know it. And then we've got kind of the RV industry that's kind of standardizing now, kind of settling in with lithium batteries, with solar.
Right.
Yeah, different degrees of off-road capability, but more off-grid, not necessarily off-road.
Right.
So they're not made for heavy terrain use, but they are made so that they can work in a parking lot without needing a campsite.
Right. When the apocalypse comes, you want your trailer to have some of those off-road notions.
Yes. but when buying slowed down, everybody this past year has moved to decontenting.
Yuck.
That is the word. And everybody is made an express or a basic or a classic or a something. And they take off all of that solar and all of that, 1,500 watt inverter, which I don't really know what that's going to do for you anyway. I just have to say,
you need at least 2,000, but I suggest more.
And they take out the built-in vacuum, and they take out the fancy lights and the big roof rack, and they call it a more conservative name.
Right.
And they lower the price.
So you can add that stuff back yourself aftermarket.
So and from my perspective with the brands that we've dealt with, it hasn't worked.
I agree.
It has not worked.
People see it a mile away.
Well, and it's not that much cheaper.
Right.
$2,000 off a $30,000 trailer.
Right.
Doesn't move the needle, guys.
And remember, what I said just a minute ago is if you want that stuff and you bought one of those trailers, you can add it on aftermarket, but you don't get the buying power that the manufacturer did.
And I think one of the problems is too, there is so much of that standard content out there that's being sold at a discounted price because it's older and we need to move it, that the new one coming out for the same price with less features just doesn't really work. It doesn't really work for the buyer.
Yeah.
I'll buy a 2023 model rather than for the same price that a 2024 with less gear is, or even less.
Yeah.
More gear for less. So maybe manufacturers would tell me differently, but I'm not sure it's really worked for them.
To my eyes, I haven't seen it play out to their hand. So,
but we'll be doing another podcast after the dealer open house. With the Hershey show up in Pennsylvania, which is your first look of the next wave.
Sure.
Yeah. And then usually a week or two after that, we have the dealer open house where we all go up to Indiana and the manufacturers put out all their stuff and we talk about what we're going to sell next. That's when we see the changes. So it will be interesting to see, number one, who's there, who has new product, and it will also be interesting to see what changes they come up with, because I don't think further decontenting is possible, and I don't think it's worked for them.
Right.
So I guess the next question is, what's next?
Shoot for the stars.
What's next? I don't know. I'm anxious to see.
Yeah. So kind of in that same vein of your question that you asked is, I do think that we're going to still see some innovations in materials used to build these things.
Oh, yes. Composites.
And I think that the tech is going to keep rolling out in the air conditioners. Maybe I think the refrigerators are in a place with the 12-volt compressor refrigerators that we're just going to see new models.
Yeah.
But I think
12-volt refrigerators in the past 2 years has finally made it to be kind of the norm, the standard. It is very cool to see because they're amazing.
But with the air conditioners, and then with the, one of your list items was the Truma Combi Plus, that kind of system.
The tankless water heater.
Tankless water heater and all. I think that's going to become more standardized, even more and more and more and more. And then I look at, this image came to mind while you were talking in this last segment, that the overlanding crowd is kind of like F1 racing, car racing, where all the highest tech things that are too expensive to bring to market first see the light of day, and they're tested and beat up. And then only 1% of that technology ever makes it into the family sedan. However, in this world, the overlanders are kind of like the F1 teams. And then the RVing community at large becomes the industry that puts it in, down the road, a more refined, this is good for everyday use and
the muscle car of the standard group.
Sure. And that's lithium ion and inverters and 12-volt refrigerators, all that stuff kind of came that direction. I think that's what we're going to continue to see in the future is innovation in the overlanding crowd, because they'll spend the money.
Right.
They will spend the money to innovate, and then we'll see what is working there will translate into the standard RVing world.
I think that's always how it works. The specialty items, then what works and what becomes more affordable flows down. So if I was going to build a really like avant-garde trailer, I would use some of the new composites that are out there that are extremely durable. I would use it on all four sides. I would make a super high-end interior. It would be very cool. It would have state-of-the-art frame under it. It would have off-road axles, because why not? Not necessarily because I want to off-road. It would have all kinds of cool features in it that are available today. And it would cost $100,000 for a 22, 23, 24-foot trailer. But it would be lightweight. It would be super slick. I think we're going to see some of those trailers. They're already coming out. But we'll have some of those out there. And then that is what 5 years from now will become a more standard build and more affordable. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I think we're going to see two paths become very clear, and neither of them are going to go away. One is the notion of the woodless construction. I think that's going to be something we hear more and more from different manufacturers. One liner, this trailer has zero wood in its construction. If there is wood, it's just the cabinetry because you like it, so we put it in there, And then the other, because that develops and because it is so expensive, I think that we might see continued updating in the oldest form of trailer out there, the stick and tins. They're never going away. In my mind, a stick and tin is just never going away, but they're going to have to look more modern.
I think we're already starting to see that. I think that's out there. This year, I have seen new models coming out. We've seen a handful of them come out where they've just tried to make them look much more contemporary. So, it's part of the world. There's a group out there that has been drawn to the unique or the overlanding group because they do not want grandpa's RV.
Right.
And that is starting to trickle down into the standard market. So looking forward to September to be able to see how much more of that we're going to find. I have seen a few prototypes blow by my desk that definitely have that modern look. They're taking a standard trailer and moving it to that cleaner, more modern look. It'll be fun to see.
So many trailers are going to have bold new graphics.
So now that we predicted, we'll have to come back in September and see what's here. So y'all stay tuned and check up with us then.
Well, I think that we've used so much time, I can't ask you a full 20 questions.
Well, that's all right. I think I answered more than 20 without you asking me.
I believe so. So everyone, thank you for joining us for this. Like I said, it was a little shoot from the hip and off the cuff presentation. But if you would like show notes, check them out at rvsmalltalk.com. We'll have the video up on YouTube. Just look us up, RV Small Talk. And we'll have Lindsay back. We'll talk about some family vacations that's coming up for a few of our members, PJ and Lindsay and whatnot. And we will reconvene and have another exciting episode out to you soon. We have been the RV Small Talk team at Princess Craft, and we will see you next time.